To be living elemental is to be living a more balanced life. I'm your host, Sara Ann, and the founder of Jade Scott Design. Through my interior design studio and Feng Shui practice, I awaken clients to the idea that their home is just as essential to their well-being as is to their mind and bodies. Essentially, nature's elements create balance and support, and through the lens of home, we can utilize their power when applied intentionally. Through this podcast, it is my intention to open you up to the idea that by living elemental through mind, body, and spirit will have a significant impact on your home and your life. A few episodes back, we talked about money corners and mindset. And in that episode, I introduced you to the Bagua. If you didn't catch it, the Bagua is essentially an energetic map used in Feng Shui to help a practitioner or a homeowner locate the section or area of their home as it corresponds to any area of their life. I've actually created a downloadable map, and the link to that is in the show notes. It's important to note, though, that you do not need to look at this map and try to fix or correct every area on the map in your home. I suggest picking one or two areas that really resonate with what you're serious about changing in your life. I always find in working with clients that there's usually one area of life in particular that they are generally focused on. But sometimes when we look at this map, we feel like we need to change a little bit of everything. And really, that is only self-sabotaging in a way that it just brings up perfectionism, shame, or guilt. And that's not really what we're striving for, especially in this format where you're attempting feng shui on your own or maybe even for the first time. So, in working with a consultant, though, that is where you can really enhance the experience because we do have a greater understanding of how each of these areas play out into your life. And in fact, each of these guas, they sort of flow or influence the next one with each stage of life or whatever cycle of life that you're in. And so this podcast or format is really just a way to get you curious about your own home and how it represents you in this life at this moment. So again, in the previous episode where we started talking about the Bagua, I explained how to place it over your floor plan or even in just a room. And we started with the wealth corner. We talked about how you'll want to clear it of any clutter. That's always step one. And then things you can do to enhance it to welcome in more wealth and prosperity and an overall feeling of more abundance in your life. So this week, I'm going to take a step backwards on the map and we're going to look at the area of life that focuses on your family and community. And sometimes this area is also known as new beginnings. Because it's associated to the season of spring, which is where we are now at the time of this recording, it's also represented by the element of wood. So there's that association to starting or growing new things, whether that is projects, relationships, or anything new that is coming into your life experience that you really want to expand upon. For me, this really touches on all three of those representations, family, community, and new beginnings, which I think you'll start to notice that I sort of record these episodes in tandem with the current feng shui of my own home and life. And just for clarity here, when I say family, we are speaking about ancestral family. So this will be your parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles. This is not your spouse or your life partner or even your children. That is actually a very different area of focus on the Bagua. So the reason why I want to kind of go backwards on the map is because of what I alluded to previously, in that the map's orientation works in a cycle. Therefore, the preceding gua typically has a bit of influence on the next one. Again, whether we're talking about the 5-element theory or the Bagua map, this is all working in a cycle so that one is kind of nourishing the next. So, again, make sure you go to the link in the notes and download a copy of the map, which will make this a little bit easier. But I'm going to try to walk you through it even if you don't have a map in front of you. So, if you're looking down at the map, you can see that your wealth and prosperity is influenced by your family and community section. So, what that sort of brings up is what I've titled the show, The Company You Keep. And in our Money Corners and Mindset episode, we sort of started talking about some of your money beliefs that maybe you've inherited from your family or even your friendships and social communities. Do you have the same beliefs as them? If you're trying to level up your mindset and change your relationship to money, are you in good company? Do those around you support your desired new relationship to money? Do they share the same beliefs? These are all questions you can start to ask. And hopefully, this is helping you understand how you not only inherit genetics or material possessions from family or friends, but you can also inherit their thought patterns, their beliefs, and habits. And luckily, if you no longer resonate with any of that, you can change your beliefs and use your home as a playground to help support it. Notice I said beliefs, and I've touched on this before. There's a lot of emphasis on changing your thoughts. Think about something you want and you get it. This is the law of attraction as most people understand it, but there's actually one step before thought, and that is your beliefs. The thoughts you think are only supportive of your beliefs. So just like clearing clutter in your home to make room for something new in your life, you need to clear the mental clutter, AKA limited beliefs that no longer support you. This took me a little while to kind of figure out, but I actually found a really great practice through author and thought leader Byron Katie, and she developed a process called the work. And it's a really simple process, but it does take a little untangling. I'm not really going to get into all of the details because you can simply Google Byron Katie and everything is available on her website. But essentially, she walks you through 4 questions. And the first question is asking yourself, is it true? It's such a gem in the self-development area. So the whole point of talking about beliefs is to question what you believe you have inherited from those who came before you or who are in your community circles now. I'm a firm believer in you become who you surround yourself with. So I'm going to start to shift away from money specifically and start to discuss a little bit more about the family and community area of your home from a different angle. If you don't have the map in front of you, that's okay. I want you to imagine standing inside your home at your front door, looking into your home. Last week, I introduced the Wealth Corner, and I told you to imagine looking into your home and focusing on the far back left corner of your home. That is your Wealth Corner. So I want you to imagine that whole entire left side of your home now and split that section down into 3 areas. So the far back left corner is going to be your Wealth Corner. The middle section is going to be your family and community area, and that's where we're going to focus on today. And the third one behind that is actually your knowledge, wisdom, self-cultivation. We'll actually talk about that in a future episode. So we're working on the left middle section of your home or your room, depending on what you've been working on through this process. So let's look at this space. Some of the questions you can start to ask. What does this area of my home look like? What does this area of my life look like? What comes up for me when I think about family or community? What is my relationship with my family or my siblings or my friends? Do I feel some sort of emotional pain coming up? Do I feel connected to my friend circle? Do I feel certain friendships falling away? If those questions start to bring some positive emotion, that's great. This area of your home is probably clutter-free. Maybe it's an area of your home that you love to sit in and read. Maybe it's a dining room where you have Sunday dinner with family and friends every week. When this area of life is balanced and in an uplifted state, it's really reflected in your home and also in your body. You feel physically healthy, mentally healthy, emotionally healthy. But if these questions bring up a little more of a negative emotion, or this area of your home is in a bit of disarray, then maybe this is an area of life that you want to look at in order to bring more loving and supportive relationships to you. I think this is a really timely conversation because I think this is an area of life that is unraveling for a lot of people, myself included. I think collectively there's this notion of ending generational cycles, whether that's beliefs, old thought patterns, traumas, the way in which we parent, setting up boundaries for ourselves. I think this is really huge, and I think it's happening in a really expansive way. In turn, it's helping support the growth of something new. I mean, I will be very vulnerable right now and share that my relationship with my family at this moment is not healthy. I don't really have a relationship with my family at this time, mainly because I believe I am part of that collective who is kind of saying, this stops with me. I'm not going to get into the details, but I will also share that this area of my home is in a bit of disarray. Yes, me, a Feng Shui practitioner, an obsessive declutterer, an interior designer. I still have areas in my life and my home that need healing and attention. And that is always going to be the case. Feng Shui is an ongoing mindfulness practice. Your home will never be perfect in the way you think that it should be because life is never perfect. And your home is always a mirror of your life. There will always be something that needs attention and care, a little bit of balancing. So, in using my home as an example, my home office sits in my family gua as well as my spirituality gua, which we'll talk about in a future episode. And what's interesting to me is although I keep a pretty orderly home, this is the room that I struggle with the most. Even when we first moved into this house, this room has been a little bit of a challenge to keep orderly. It's a bonus room right off the dining room. And now it's my office. Previously, it was my kids' playroom. And even previous to that, it was that whatever room, the room in your home that you sort of just toss things into that you don't really know what to do with them. And so this room has constantly been in some state of chaos. Interestingly, that's where I've been with the situation with my family. I don't know what action I should be taking, and I question what action I have already taken. And the fact that I can't keep this room organized speaks to that sort of chaotic relationship with them. And because this is my office, there's also a little bit of scattered focus or lack of clarity in my work or just a sense of always being busy. However, I also believe because there's that influence of knowledge and spirituality. Again, if you're looking at the map, you'll notice that is the preceding gua to the family and community section. And we now know that each preceding gua influences the next one in context. Having the spirituality and the self cultivation sort of supporting my journey through this disruption in my life with my family is further evidence that my home is indicative of what is playing out in my life and that I can use my home to shift or change any aspect of it that I wish. And through that, I've manifested new friendships and community and social circles that are incredibly supportive of me and my healing and the direction I want my life to take. As I'm recording this in this moment, I'm having so many ahas about my office, the fact that it sits in both of these guas, that my spirituality is influencing my relationship with my family and my social circles. So again, Feng Shui is an ongoing practice. And the more you lean into what it all could uncover for you, you'll find some really interesting things that you can kind of bring up and transcend. One thing I found to be really interesting is in the I Ching, the Book of Changes, which is the philosophical foundation of Taoism and Feng Shui. This area associated to family is represented by the trigram known as Chen, which is associated in nature by the means of thunder. So thunder is basically a force upon something that has been obstructed and then suddenly bursts, right? Like an explosion. And so the purpose of thunder in our life is to get us moving when we are complacent. When we're stuck in those old habits and beliefs, and there's this awareness that we want to break free from that, but we're kind of stuck in that unconscious habitual behavior that we're not moving forward. And so thunder comes and it gets us to take action at the right time. This force can come from a teacher, a parent, a serious illness, or an accident. For me, it came in this form of an explosive incident, which at the time made zero sense to me. But looking retrospectively and through my home's feng shui, I'm realizing it happened for a reason. We hear that all the time. And I think one of the biggest takeaways from everything happens for a reason is we might not understand the reason in the moment. But we have to trust that when something forces us out of old ways of thinking, out of bad habits, out of patterns that no longer serve us, in order for us to grow, something explosive needs to happen and disrupt the system. So I think it is important to express that if you are going through some sort of disruption with your family, or maybe a health accident to make you look at your lifestyle, or a job loss to make you shift gears in your career or a job, to welcome that energy of thunder, this force, to sort of help ease the discomfort a bit by acknowledging that the disruption is necessary for your own growth and your highest good, just as it is in nature. So, getting back to the family and community gua of your home, you can energize this area if you are looking to attract new, healthy friendships and a sense of community that is incongruent with your new mindset and desires. If you want to send forgiveness, love, and healing energy to your family or your family members where there might be strain or hurt. You can also enhance this area to strengthen your relationship to your ancestors or your aging elders. Maybe you know that you only have very little time left with them here in this life. We always mention decluttering, especially removing things that you are holding on to or displaying in your home out of guilt. That includes any objects or photographs of anyone in your family or your friendship circles that have been judgmental, argumentative, conditional in their love for you. And again, we're working in a very specific area, not your entire home. Once we've removed the things that no longer serve this space, we can start to enhance it a bit. Again, the wood element is the supportive element here, so healthy plants or flowers, wood objects, sculptures, decorative bowls, or accents can be added. Anything green or blue, artwork or photography of landscapes, trees, or gardens would work symbolically and really beautifully here. And photographs of happy occasions and family get-togethers and inherited items from loving family and friendships. When going through this space, forgiveness can be a really great intention to hold. When we forgive, we allow the heart to open and attract more nurturing people in our life. And forgiveness and healing doesn't always necessarily look like a conversation either. You can certainly forgive someone through your own thoughts and intentions. Doing that is such an act of self-love. So is getting help from a therapist or building that community around you, people who support you and rally around you to help you heal. That is such a strong part of your holistic well-being, to have that family or community support. I have attracted so many wonderful people recently while going through what I consider a significant disruption in my own life. And so I really wanted this episode to inspire you and give you the permission and courage to step into what you really want for yourself and your relationships. Thank you so much for your support of the podcast. I really hope you enjoyed today's episode. If these topics resonate with you and you are starting to become more curious or maybe even more aware of how your home is supporting or not supporting your desired lifestyle, I invite you to reach out and schedule a consultation with me, which can be done remotely. I'll leave my scheduling link in the show notes below, as well as a link to the free Bagua downloadable that I mentioned in the episode. Lastly, reviews of the podcast help me grow, so if you're enjoying it, please let me know by offering a kind review or simply sharing it with your friends and community. I also love tags and DMs on Instagram and connecting there at Jade Scott Design. Until next time, much love and gratitude.